Hello. So I've just upgraded from an iPhone 6 to an iPhone 8. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what's new between these two phones, basically telling you whether or not it's worth upgrading. So firstly, where did I get this iPhone 8 from? I actually bought it from eBay, which isn't everybody's cup of tea because you're never quite sure of what you're going to receive. But thankfully the eBay money back guarantee, as I've discussed in a lot of videos, is actually really good at protecting you if you do end up getting something that's not quite right. So the actual iPhone 8 that you can get from the Apple store is £699, and that's because the iPhone 8 is brand new. I think it's only been out about a month at the moment. But I was able to get my hands on this iPhone 8 for £525 from an eBay seller called Envirophone, which represented fantastic value for money. I was a little bit concerned before I bought it. They had three conditions. They have pristine, excellent and good. And I opted for the good one because it was the cheapest. I wouldn't be surprised if actually they don't really have a grading because this phone is in superb condition. It's absolutely spanking new. But anyway, that's a really good way of getting a cheap iPhone. And of course, it is still extremely expensive, £525, but if you've got an existing iPhone, you can always sell it on eBay or take it to a shop like CEX, but certainly you will get some trade-in value for your old iPhone, which will offset the cost of the new one. So anyway, enough bleating on about the price. Let's take a look at the iPhone 8 and see how it compares to the iPhone 6. So this is the iPhone 8, and there are a couple of really obvious physical differences between this and the iPhone 6. Firstly, the size of it. So when you're looking at it, it does look a little bit chunkier than the iPhone 6. And actually, if you look at the official specifications, it is a little bit deeper, it's a little bit longer, and it's a little bit wider. So it's not your imagination, it is actually a bigger phone. That does mean that all of your sort of cases and things that you had for your iPhone 6 aren't going to be right for your iPhone 8, but if you're an Apple fanatic, you're probably going to be used to that kind of thing by now. That's not the only way that they differ. The iPhone 8 is a little bit heavier. I'm actually quite surprised that I can tell the difference. I think it's because we spend so long these days holding our phones, we're really kind of attuned to small changes in the weight. But yeah, the iPhone 8 is slightly heavier. Now, a lot of people might see that as a disadvantage. It's not going to slow you down. In actual fact, I think that it makes it feel like it's slightly better quality, so it's not so bad. On to the other physical differences of the phone. The front of them, they look pretty well identical. The sides are pretty similar as well, same buttons. Now they are different on the bottom. And why is that? Well, the iPhone 8 is actually missing the headphone jack. They haven't had headphone jacks on their phone since iPhone 7. They have added stereo speakers, and I think they're meant to be something like 25% louder than they were on the 6S or something. And also they've got better sort of bass and treble response, I think, as well, so you get a nicer sound. Not having a headphone jack means that your 3.5mm jack earphones or headphones are no good unless you buy a £10 Apple or generic headphone adapter, or do what I'm going to do, which is finally relent and get some Bluetooth earphones. And you can get those for anything between sort of 10 and probably hundreds and hundreds of pounds. The other major physical difference is on the back of these devices, and that actually links to one of the actual biggest function differences between these phones. So on the iPhone 8, you've got a glass shiny back that looks very, very attractive, very nice. On the iPhone 6, it's matte, and this one is, I think this one's silver, and this one is space grey. So yeah, these are hugely different. So the reason the iPhone 8 is glass and the iPhone 6 is aluminium is because the 8 uses induction charging. That means you can buy, for as little actually as about £15, a little pad that you plug into a USB wall adapter, and you can actually rest your phone on this pad, and it will charge wirelessly. It's wireless charging. Absolutely brilliant. Futuristic. I'm going to get myself one for Christmas because I think that's really cool. One final difference, on the back of the phones, if you look at the camera looks slightly bigger on the iPhone 8. They've still retained this thing where the camera lens actually juts out from the back of the body, which I hate, because when you put the phone down on a surface, it feels like it's resting on the camera. That about wraps up the visual differences between the 6 and the 8. But there are some differences under the hood which we will talk about now. So the general message here is that everything is going to be slightly better. At least some things are a lot better with the 8 than they were with the 6. So let's start with the battery life. The quoted talk time is about the same, but you'll get a few extra hours if you're using it for the internet or you're using it to watch HD videos and things. So that's pretty good. Can never really complain, apart from the fact that I think that battery technology really hasn't kept up with the speed of sort of processor development. At least it's a step in the right direction. The screens on the 6 versus the 8 are identical in terms of resolution, but they have added this sort of true tone thing into the iPhone 8, which basically means that in different lighting conditions you get a better representation of colour. And I have to say, I don't know if it's just because the screens are different, but when I'm looking at the iPhone 8 screen, it does look better quality than the iPhone 6 one. By far the biggest difference between the 6 and the 8 is the processor. Apparently the 8 has a new processor called the A11, which is 50% faster than the iPhone 6S, so it must be quite a bit faster than the 6. And really that is noticeable. Everything you do, all the menus that you scroll through on the phone, everything that you do is really silky smooth. There's no delay or lagging or anything like that. It really is a pleasure to use, so that is a significant upgrade. In terms of the camera, there was a significant upgrade from the 6S to the 7, and so, as you would expect, there is a big upgrade from the 6 to the 8. The camera on the iPhone 6 was an 8 megapixel camera with a 2.2 f-stop aperture, which was pretty good, but they've upgraded it significantly. The 8 now has a 12 megapixel camera and a 1.8 f-stop aperture, which means that it takes in more light, which means you get better pictures in low lighting conditions. The increased processing power on the iPhone 8 also means that they actually process images in a better way, so that's actually helped reduce noise in low light conditions. Generally speaking, you're going to get better pictures on the iPhone 8 than you got with an iPhone 6. I was a little bit sad to find that actually the 8 isn't the one with 2 cameras on the back that allows you to do that funky portrait mode that you might have heard about, where it makes your face look really good and everything else is like dark. It's like you've had a professional photo taken of you. That's only available on the Plus models. And there are a few other major differences as well. For example, the iPhone 8 is now water and dust resistant. The 8 has a pressure sensitive 3D touch screen, so I think I can't really explain it, but basically it's not just tapping. Actually how you tap and the pressure that you apply to the screen can be interpreted in different ways in different applications. And there is also 4K video recording on the 8 and 1080p
slow-mo recording.
And now this is going to sound really strange, but one of my favourite differences between these phones is the home button. They've incorporated this thing called the Taptic home button, which basically means that when the phone is off and you press the home button, it doesn't do anything. It's not even a button. You can control the kind of tactile response you get when you press the home button, so you can control how much it clicks. So it's not even actually a button. It's actually just a sort of force feedback home button. I think that's amazing. So I've talked about a lot of the differences between the 6 and the 8, but maybe you're after more of a sort of general discussion about whether or not it's worth upgrading. So is the iPhone 8 worth £800? Not really, but then I'm not really the person to ask, because I never buy Apple products brand new, especially as soon as they've been released. I'm always a few generations behind the time because it's cheaper and I think it saves you more money in the long run. So I only paid £525 for this upgrade, and was that worth it? Well, I like this button, but I'm going to get used to it. battery life slightly better, processor is better, camera's better. These are all things that, you know, are going to make it more pleasurable to use, but you're going to get used to them quite quickly. So my advice is really, if you notice that your iPhone 6 is getting slow, if it's a bit scratched up, and you've got £500 minimum to sort of spare, then I think maybe the upgrade is worth it. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think. Have you got one of the new iPhones, the iPhone 8 or the iPhone X? Let me know down below and we'll get a little bit of a discussion going. I'll leave a link down below to the iPhone on Amazon and eBay, because really that's where you're going to get the best prices. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe if you like my tech reviews, Lego and all that sort of stuff, and see you next time for another video.